Okay, sir. So, good afternoon to each one of you present today. It is a moment of extreme pleasure to welcome the guests who are present here to attend this workshop. On behalf of the institution, I offer my regards to all the people joining us. I convey my regards to Director Sir, Professor Vineet Kansal Sir, for giving me this wonderful opportunity. I would also like to warm thanks to Kuldeep Sahai Sir, the President of IIC, and Pushkar Tripathi Sir, the Convener IIC. Now, I would like to introduce the guest of the day, Dr. Amarjeet Prajapati, Assistant Professor, Jaypee Institute of Information Technology, Noida, in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering. He has done his MTech PhD from NIT Kurukshetra. He has around more than 10 years of teaching experience. He has also worked as a guest and a visiting faculty at MNNIT Allahabad. He has also worked as an assistant professor at NIT Kurukshetra, and he has published around research articles in more than 20 SCI index journal as a first author. Thank you, sir, so much for accepting our invitation and coming for the seminar. The schedule of this seminar will focus on the topic of design thinking, critical thinking, and innovation design. Now, I would like to request uh, Kuldeep Sahai sir or Pushkar Tripathi sir to welcome our guest. Over to you, sir. Sir, you're muted.
Okay, okay. Thanks a lot, sir, for welcoming me and having me here. It is my absolute pleasure to be a part of such a wonderful workshop. So I always love to give such kind of the uh, lectures for such kind of the workshop. So today our the theme of the workshop is design thinking, critical thinking, and innovations. Right. So now let us start. So design thinking, critical thinking, and innovation, as Kuldeep sir has discussed that there is a great ecosystem is going on, developing on in the NCR, UP, and overall country to develop the culture of the startup among the institutions and nurturing the various innovation skills and thinking, design thinking, critical thinking in the mind of the students. So it is a very great thing. So toward this direction, our government of India has set up a Ministry of Education innovation cell through which they encourage to design and develop different types of the platforms in the higher education institutions like innovation cell, institute, industry linkage cell, UBA, Unnat Bharat Abhiyan, mentor mentee programs, hackathons, incubation centers. So the Ministry of Education encourages to develop these kind of the platforms in the institutions so that uh, the different types of the innovation, design thinking, and critical thinking can be used for the betterment of the society and the betterment of the country, right? So let us see what is the purpose of the design thinking, critical thinking, and innovation. So through the
Sorry to interrupt you, sir.
yes, sir.
Sir, please full screen your
Oh,
presentation
oh,
that
sorry,
it
sorry.
is clearly visible.
Okay, okay, sir. Sorry.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so let us see what is the main goal and purpose of the design thinking, critical thinking, and innovation. So the major goal is to unlock the potential, or you can say hidden potential of the young generation, so that they can utilize, and they can perform the different things to produce, to make, to model the different solution for the different types of the problems, right? So as there are three parts in this theme: design thinking, critical thinking, and innovation. So I will discuss one by one of each the components of this theme. So first thing is the design thinking. So let us see what is the design thinking. There are many definition exist, and there are many people they have provided the different definition according to their own perspectives. So there are two definitions that I have found more suitable. So I would like to discuss these two definition. So first definition was given by the Tim Brown, executive chair of the IDU. According to his perspectives, design thinking is a human-centered approach to innovation that draws from the designer's toolkit to integrate the needs of people, the possibilities of technology, and the requirements for business success. And the second definition is given by the David and Tom Kelly. According to his perspectives, design thinking is a way of finding human needs and creative new solution using the tools and mindset of design practitioner. So these are the definition given by two peoples, and there are many others definition also. I'm not going through all these. So overall, the design thinking is to overall the design thinking is the human centered approach through which we have to make some innovation to solve a particular of the problem, right? So in the design thinking there are three things which must be considered. First one is the desirability, second is the viability, third is the uh, feasibility. So let us see what is the desirability. According to in the desirability, we think that what makes sense to people and for the people. So we have to consider these things, what make the sense to the people and the for the people. Second thing is we should consider that feasibility, whatever we are going to do, whether it is feasible or not. So in feasibility, what is technically feasible, technically possible within the foreseeable future, within a particular set of the environment, whether it is feasible or not. So these things we must consider while developing the design thinking. And the third is the viability. In the viability, whether the whatever we are going to do, whether it is economically viable or not. So what is likely to become part of the sustainable business model or not. So these are the three things we should consider in the design thinking. The design thinking can be applied in many of the area, as there are many areas growing, and the different areas had their own challenges, their own issues, their own problems. So it can help to make a solution in more better way. So it can be applied in the education. There is a huge opportunity in the education. There are various challenges in the education, in music industry, financial services, healthcare. In healthcare, there is a huge opportunity to develop the different healthcare instruments. Agricultural, there is a huge opportunity in the agriculture. There are many issues in the agriculture to produce a good agricultural products. We can develop the various tools, techniques, methods. Next one is the environment sustainability. So there are many areas, and this is not just limited. There are many more area where the design thinking can be more productive. So in the design thinking, it is not just a particular step. It is a set of the steps, set of the stages where some of the activities must be performed to produce a better solution. Right. So let us see what are the different activities that involved in the design thinking. So overall the activities are overall the steps generally divided into the two major parts. First is the problem space, and second is the solution space. And again, problem space and solution space is divided into the two parts. First one is the divergent thinking, and second one is the convergent thinking. Right. So suppose we have a particular problems. So we have to perform the different activities to understand the problem. For example, understanding, there are many activities is done in the to understand the problem. Then we observe the problem, and then we develop the different models of the problem from the different point of views. So this is the problem space. I will discuss these things in more compact way in the next slide. After having a particular problem models for a particular problem, then we ideate, then we develop a particular idea how to we can solve that problems, what can be the different alternatives to solve the different views of the problems. And then we, after finding a particular idea, then we develop a prototype. uh, After developing the prototype, then we make a particular products, then we test whether it is a viable, whether it is applicable or not. So these are the different steps in the design thinking. Now we compact these different stages into the five major stages, which is generally designed by the different peoples. So it has become the standard in the design thinking. So I am discussing these things in according to that format. So in the traditional, or you can say this is the traditional way of doing the activities in the design thinking. So first activity or the first stage of the design phase is the empathize. Second is the define. Third is the ideate. Fourth is the prototype, and last is the test. So these things can be mapped whatever I had discussed in the previous slide. Actually, these things is given by the different people in this way. That's why I am discussing according to that way. So let us see what are the activities are done in the different stages of the design thinking. So first step is the empathize. In the empathize, we have to we have to empathetically we we should empathetically understand the people's problem, right? So if suppose there is a problem in the environment or with any people in the business, so we have to understand the problem with an empathetic way, because the design thinking, it is a human centered. So we have to follow the human centric approach. We have to interact with the people to understand their problem with an empathetic way. And in this stage we also have to set aside our assumption, whatever we have in our mind towards the words,
Sir,
right? Yes,
sir, just
yes.
there is, sir, be a little bit loud.
Okay.
Viewers are asking that.
Okay, sir. Okay. Now it is.
Yes, yes, sir. This is.
Yes. So in the empathize phase, we do the different activities, as I have discussed that the design uh, thinking, it is a human centered design process. That's why we have to keep these things in our mind when we are understanding the actual problems, right? Suppose a particular people have a particular problems and we want to provide a solution, then we have to interact with the people in more empathetic way, right? And while understanding the problems, if we have any assumption toward the solution, toward the problem, toward the word, then we should keep aside. Otherwise we can't understand the problem in a more perfect way, right? And we also have to gain a real insight into the users and their needs. So this is the first stage of the design thinking. So overall thing is that we have to discover what user needs, what is the actual needs of the user through the different methods. Second phase is define phase. In the define phase, we have to determine the problem we want to solve, right? In this define phase, whatever we have collected the information from the empathize phase, we have to analyze that problem, we have to observe that problem, and we have to synthesize them to define a core problem, right? So whatever we have collected in the empathize phase, we have to make a problem model in the define phase. Means we define the what is the actual problem based on the information we have collected in the empathize phase, right? So this is the empathize phase. Next is the ideate. Once we have developed the model of the problem, means we have we have understood the problem, then we have to proceed toward the solution. Means we have to create a different idea to solve that problem. So to solve a particular problem, then can be a many of the solution, many of the possible idea, many of the possible solution can be possible, right? So in this we have to select a particular idea which is best suitable for that problem, right? So overall in this phase we have to make we have to develop the possible solution to the user's problem. Once we have create a particular idea, the way we need to solve that problem, then we create a prototype. Then we have to create a prototype to solve the idea, to solve the problem. In prototype, it means we have to create a architecture, we have to create a blueprint, how the solution uh, would look like, right? So in this stage is an experimental phase. You can say the aim of this phase is to identify the best possible solution and each problem, whatever the problem we have. So overall, in the prototype phase, we have to make a blueprint of the solutions. Then, after making the blueprint or a general product, then we have to test that blueprint, that prototype. The in the testing, we should be more careful while testing the products or the idea or the prototype. We have to test in a environment where the problem exists. Sometimes what happens whenever we test uh, apart from the environment where the problem exists, it may work better, but whenever we deploy solution in uh, the problem environment, it may not work because there are many of the parameters, there are many environmental parameters that may not lead to work that products. So these are the different stages of the design thinking. This is the simple example. I have taken this example from the internet, and the source is given here. So suppose we want to apply the design thinking to develop, to help old people. Suppose a old people who cannot walk properly. So we want to help him with a particular solution, and here we want to apply the design thinking to develop that solution. So in that case, as we know that first step is empathize. In the empathize phase, we have to understand what is the actual problem of the old peoples, why, what they need, and we have to collect the whole information where the old people are facing the problems, right? So this is the empathize phase. And next, define the problems. Once the information of the old peoples we have collected, then we define the problem, in which what are their situation, uh, where they are actually facing the difficulties. So according to that, we define the problem model. After the creating the problem model, then ideate. The solution can be many of the idea to develop any products to help the old people. It may be any wheelchair, it may be simple wheelchair, it may be electric uh, wheelchair, it may be some sticks kind of the things. So there can be a different idea through which we can develop a particular product that can help the old people. But we have to select a particular idea which can be more uh, feasible. So in this ideate phase, we have to we select, suppose we have selected a particular type of the wheelchair which is more appropriate for that people. So once we have selected a particular idea, then we have to develop the prototype. And once we have developed the prototype, then we have to test that solution with the help of the old people, right? So this is the simple example of the application of the design thinking. Similarly, there can be many of the problems where we can apply the design thinking stages to find a better product, to find a better solution. Next, actually there are many things are involved in the design thinking process, and we can do the various activities, various processes of the design thinking with the help of the various software tools. There are many software tools are available through which we can analyze the problem, through which we can define the problem, through which we can make a prototype of the problem, through which we can test the problem. So you can go through these tools. These tools are available on the internet. I'm not going to discuss details about these tools. So this is all about the design thinking. Next part of our theme is the critical thinking. So critical thinking, it is a you people may ask what is the difference between the critical thinking and design thinking. In design thinking, there are many stages as I discussed. So the critical thinking actually involves in each of the phases. To accomplish the different phases of the design phase, we need a critical thinking. So critical thinking is a we cannot separate that critical thinking from the design thinking. Without the critical thinking, we cannot achieve the goals of the different stages of the design thinking. So let us see what is the critical thinking, what are the things are involved in the critical thinking. So the critical thinking refers to the ability to analyze information objectively and make a reasoned judgment, right? So there are many of the information available in the different stages of the design thinking. It may be a data, any facts, any observable phenomena, research finding. So in the critical thinking, the critical thinkers generally analyze and evaluate these information, these data, these findings, and produces a reasonable conclusion or any judgment. So this is the overall framework of the critical thinking. Now, if we see from any critical thinker point of view, then the critical thinking generally evaluate the solution situation. The situation can be anything. It may be any research finding, observable phenomena, facts, data, or any kind of the situation where the problem exists or solution exists, or any prototype exists, any problem definition exists. Then the critical thinker evaluates by using the his logical thinking. Critical thinking uses the logical thinking to evaluate the situation and produces or offer the best solution. So I try to uh, produce a particular framework to understand the critical thinking. So there may be many more things related to the critical thinking. I just wanted to put a picture of the critical thinking. So there are many examples of critical thinking here. For example, a triage nurse, uh, triage nurse analyzes the cases at hand and decide the order by which the patient should be treated. So this is the one example. Second example is a manager analyzes customer feedbacks forms and uses this information to develop a customer service training session for the employee, right? So overall in critical thinking we analyze the information in hand. or we evaluate the information, and then we by using the our logical thinking we produce a particular solution, or we do something based on that outcomes. So there may be many other examples. I just try to give these two examples. And as I had also told that the critical thinking can be applied in every stages of the logical thinking. So for the critical thinking, there are many skills mm, required. So I am discussing five major skills. There may be many other skills, but these five skills are better suiting for the critical thinking. So first is the analysis. First one is the analysis. So analysis means analytical power. A critical thinker must have an analytical power. They must have a good understanding how to analyze the power, how to analyze the information. Second is the communication skill. The critical thinker must have a good interpersonal communication skill so that he or she can understand the problem. Next one is the creativity. The critical thinking must have a creative thought. They can uh, have a creative way of seeing the world. They can see the solution in more different ways. Next, the critical thinker must have a problem solving skill, solving skills, and other is the mindedness. The critical thinker must be open mindedness. It means that the critical thinker should not be uh, uh, a biased person, or should not see the problem or solution based on the some pre-assumptions that he has created in his or her mind. So it is necessary that they must see the problem or any solution from an open mind. So these are the different skills that generally helps in the critical thinking. Next is the innovation. This is the third part of the theme. Similar, similar, Similarly to the design thinking and the critical thinking, there are many definition of the innovations. I have taken some common definition of the innovation. So the word innovation is derived from the Latin verbs innovare, which means to renew. In essence, the word has retained its meaning up until today. Innovation means to improve or to replace something, for example, a process, a product, or a service. So, in the context of companies, however, the term needs a definition. In the complex context of business, a definition is needed. So, the meaning of the innovation can be defined from the different perspectives. It may be from the any organization perspectives, or it can be from the process perspectives, from the product perspectives, from the service perspective. So innovation can be defined from the different perspectives. If we see from the process perspectives, means there must be some of the improvement in the process. Here, if I talk about the improvement, it is not a very simple improvement. There must be a drastic improvement. Then we say there is a innovation. Suppose we have a particular process. If we are improving uh, the process, if we improve the process very less, it doesn't mean it is an innovation. If we improve the process in more drastic way, means fully change, then we say it is the innovation. Similarly, in the products, if we have any traditional products, and if we make a little bit change, then it is not a innovation. If we make a drastic change, then it is a innovation. For example, suppose if we have our desktop systems where we had the CRT monitors and uh, CPUs, and there once if the laptop comes, so this is the innovation, means there is a huge changes in the computer. So this is the innovation. Similarly, services, there if we make a huge changes in the services, then it becomes the innovation. So the innovation can be in the process, in the product, and in the services. And many people define the innovation as with this uh, equation, like innovation is the invention and commercialization. So many people ask what is the difference between the innovation and the inventions. So the invention means it can be any idea, any technologies which may not be uh, business viable from the business point of view. So innovation it is it generates the value. So once we include the commercialization in the inventions, it becomes the innovation. So while doing the uh, some people may ask how the innovation can happen. So there are three things I am going to discuss, which is given by the guy Kawasaki. According to his point of views, I am going to discuss these three things which has to which leads the innovation. So what are the three things which leads the innovation? First is the make meaning. So once we have a desire to make a meaning, so it leads the innovation. Make meaning means we are desiring to change the world. We want to make some change in the world. So these things lead the innovation. Now if we are desiring to make the money, if we have desire to make the money from this perspective, is if we start working, then we cannot change the world and we cannot make the meaning, right? So the second path, that is desire of making money, do not lead the innovation. The first part, where the people desire to make the meaning, they want to change the world, this leads the innovation. Second is the make mantra. Make mantra means if you want to make a meaning, so you must have a particular mantra which can define your meaning. Means whatever you want to do, that must be defined through two, three, or through four words, right? So that the people must be focusing on those things. For example, Wendy's, Nike, Google, Facebook, Apple. So there, the many of the other companies, they have their mantra. Like if you see Google have the mantra, don't be able. Facebook, move fast with stable infrastructure. Apple have the mantra, think different. So these things actually defines their meanings, what they are going to do. So it also encourage their innovations. So this is the second things which leads the innovation. And third is the matter of perspectives. Matter of perspectives means if we have a particular perspectives through which we desire to make a drastic change, then the innovation can happen. Suppose if we want to make some very huge drastic change, then only the innovation can happen. For example, if we want to make a 5% change, if we are desiring to make a 5% change, 10% change, then it doesn't lead the innovation. So, so these are the things from my side. So if there is any questions, you can ask. Thanks. Yeah. Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Actually, sir, I had no enough time. They last day, madam had asked me to deliver this lecture. So there are very short duration. That's why I tried my best in one day to prepare this PPT. Otherwise, I would have made more better. Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes. 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 Yes, sir. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, yes, sir. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yes, sir. Yeah, yes, sir. Sir, I just want to say to the students, they should see the problems and they should define the problem. They should ideate the problem. Means they should apply the design thinking everywhere. Whether it is a life problem, it is a say a professional problem, any problem, we must start thinking from this perspective. So we can find a solution in more better way and more effective way. So I always encourage our students. They do these kind of the things.
One of the major problem with students is recently we have seen that due to this thriving culture and this Shark Tank type of programs, people directly jump on the solution. And
Yes, sir. This is a very bad thing. Even if you see the students who develop the project in the final year, they just bring the code, and they don't analyze they don't design they don't do any other things.
yes, so
So
just
it is
like
problem. They must analyze the problem. They must design the problem. Then they implement those problems
so
as a product, as a solution.
yes,
But these things are nowadays missing in the students. But I always encourage to the students because I have always in the interaction with our friends who are in the
yes,
industry. They always tell that, sir, it is a must that student must start thinking like that,
yes, definitely.
not just to jump the solution as sir you are telling that.
Yes, yes, definitely. And we see normally what happens. People start directly with the solution itself,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
they don't desirability, feasibility, viability.
yeah,
They don't look on that, and even they are so engrossed with their idea, which is directly on solution, not based on critical thinking. So they don't listen you that okay, they are so much attached with that idea. Okay, I we will proceed with it. They go for pitching, and if they fail on that part, I think then they feel hurt that this was my idea and it has not been selected.
yeah,
If it does not meet this criteria of desirability, feasibility, and viability, then that would be a difficult part to achieve, and that would be your creation maybe, but it will not be an innovation. Just you discussed that innovation must be commercialization or is important component of innovation.
yeah, yeah.
So maybe they have created something, invention is there, but uh, it would not be, it will not be commercializable. So I think that is one of the major point of critical thinking, design thinking, and that innovation.
Yes, yes.
So do we have any query?
No, sir, no, sir. I don't have any queries.
Yes.
I think there is someone. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Uh, Thank you, sir. Good morning to everyone. Sorry, good afternoon to everyone. Thank you, Amar, sir, for coming to college and guiding us. Sir, I would like to ask one thing that you mentioned during our whole process of thinking, design thinking, and critical thinking. It is very needed to aside your perception, perceptions.
Yes, sir.
But
Pre-assumption, any assumption if you
yes,
have.
sir.
Yes.
But like in from very beginning, we have been grown up in an environment to adapt things,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
not to think differently, but to adapt the problem, adapt the solution, current solution. So I usually fail to think new things because of this. And what is your view and what is your suggestions to overcome this?
Actually, you are actually saying that if we have some pre-assumption regarding the environment, so it actually stops us to thinking beyond. So in that case, we have to interact with the people and we have to understand and we have to see from different point of views, not just our point of views. What is the other point of what other people think toward this direction. So once we do these things, definitely we can change our mindset, and we should start respecting the other views also, what other people are thinking. We should not stop them to uh, their thoughts. Yes.
means not only our viewpoint is important, others viewpoint is also important. So then our perspective will be broadened, and then we can think in overall holistic manner we can think. Otherwise, just like artificial intelligence, you just keep on watching few type of videos, then it will start recommending you similar type of content. And if you want keep on watching similar type of content, you may become an extremist, but not an innovator. Yes. So for becoming an innovator, you have to maybe you can search or watch videos on without logging in and creating ID, and through this incognito mode, and getting less affected by this. If you read variety of material from different perspective, it is not only that you are looking at it is from the perspective of an industrialist, or from the perspective of only one communist, or only from a right winger. You have to have different perspectives, then only this biased nature will not be there. Otherwise, highly biased thinking would be there, and it will impair your critical thinking, and which will further impair your design thinking. So this is the whole channel is there. I hope we have answered your question. You have to have variety of problems, and feedback is also really important. If someone says that he has a different perspective, opinion, we can respect it. We can agree on one thought, that is we can agree, for that we can disagree. Okay, and that is the only way to have different perspective. And if new thing comes, we are accustomed with the thinking, as you said already, that we are accustomed to thinking in one way, and adopting only existing solution, and we have to break that part. We have to go beyond that. We have to definitely.
Thank you, sir. Got it.
Right. So, anyone else? So, do we have in chat box also any question? Okay. So. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mudita ma'am,
Yes, sir.
just
Yes, sir. So I would like to express my gratitude to all the students and faculties for their presence and contribution to make this webinar a great success. I extend my gratitude to our honorable guest, Dr. Amarjeet Prajapati sir, to take out his time from his busy schedule to grace this event. Thank you, sir, for inspiring and encouraging us with your words. A special thanks to Mr. Pushpa Tripathi sir, convener IIC, for providing an immense support to make this webinar a successful. I extend my gratitude to Mr. Adibuddin Ahmed sir to organize a webinar even amid the pandemic. So thank you everyone for joining the webinar itself. Thank you everyone.
yes, and I would like to add few things. Just means you have initially given thanks and welcome that part, but I would like to repeat that at this point I would also like to thank our director sir, and President IIC Professor Kuldeep Sahai sir, and our director sir Professor Vineet Kansal sir. Without their support and their vision, these things would not have been possible. And at last, and as always I say, but not least, the participants. They are the person because of which these events are being conducted and are being conducted successfully. Thank you everyone, and thank you once again. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
It's time to have selfie time.
Yes,
Please
selfie
put
time.
your cameras for a group photograph. so that we can remember, always remember this wonderful session. Please put your cameras on. Sir, please stop presentation.
Yeah, yeah, 1 minute.
Yes. Thank you so much, sir.
One minute. Am I visible? Everyone is visible? Are we? Okay, just a minute. I think I have pinned you. Yeah, that is why it is issue. Yes, yes.
Please switch on your cameras, please.
Yes,
This
yes.
is request for
All of the participants, specifically which have joined through Google Meet, definitely we cannot cater the people who have joined through YouTube channels.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for your wonderful session and your precious time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Amarjeet.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.